Temple tournament. Dave Aranda yesterday met with the media for the first time as Baylor has opened up their spring drills. When they were in 2020, they were, 2-7, had a terrible year. A lot of people did, even some pretty good programs did, and Baylor is coming off that Sugar Bowl appearance. But they were a mess in many ways. He made changes. They bounced back, went 12-2, won the Big 12, and won the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss. And then last year, of course, expectations were sky high again, despite losing a lot of players. And they just, something seemed to always be missing, despite some nice wins at Oklahoma or in Lubbock against Texas Tech. It was something didn't work. And Dave Aranda kept kind of hinting at trying to get players the maturity level at times. He didn't say specific players, whether freshmen or whatever, but he was asked this question yesterday about what did he kind of pinpoint as what may have gone wrong with Baylor football and how much maybe he took some of that blame this offseason.
Yeah, I think I probably was too lenient with guys, and I think I probably tried to help too many guys that I think probably needed, maybe a tougher version of me. I probably gave too many guys chances that were probably taking advantage of me or those chances. And I think, I go back to those times, though. It's like, you're trying to, I don't know, man. I struggle sometimes where it's like, I don't know if all the wins from the previous year kind of just makes you think that you can fix all the stuff. I hope that's not the case. I don't know if that is, though. But, I think when I go back to it, you're locked in, and it's like, dude, I'm trying to help this person. And I'm trying, he's got to get over this or get over this hump or do this or do that. And I think in the midst of that, in the helping of him, the so-called, I guess, helping of him, I think there's the hurting of the team. And,
he's a breath of fresh air. Now, he needs to win, obviously. Baylor needs to get back to the winning ways and be more than just barely getting into a bowl game. But is that not refreshing to see a coach admit the way he did? And the word, I was too lenient, and in the end, because of me trying to help him, it hurt the team. So we may see a little bit more of an edge to a guy that normally is just, like this.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see that.
Like outwardly or publicly, yeah.
I think the team will see that. I do think that you do find when you are thrust into leadership positions, you cannot coach or lead every single person the same way. You have to, the best leaders are the ones who can talk to everybody. They're the ones who can, if you're going through something, then they can make you feel like they're going through it too. Or if you need to, get a foot in your ass, then that's what you get. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. Like they figure that out. I think one of the best at that, and people maybe not give him credit for this because he's such a gruff exterior, but was Bill Parcells. If you talk to players that played for Bill Parcells, outwardly to everybody, when the whole team is together, all 53 people, he is the one way. But, there were some guys that, they come into his office and he would be like, here's what I need from you. And it was a nice, gentle talk about motivation. And then some guys, they'd come to the office and it was a good old Bill Parcells dressing down because different people respond to things different ways. And he clearly is getting a handle on that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing him say that. I think that everyone wondered what the problems were last year outside of just talent. And, talent leaving for the NFL draft is going to leave somewhat of a void for you, but not to the extent the way that they played and executed last year. Like, that wasn't, to me, mostly a talent issue. That was a little bit of a talent issue, but that was more of an effort issue. That was more of a mindset issue. That was more of a focus and attitude issue, and that's what was so puzzling is that you had seen, like, the premier example of that at its best the year prior, and so that's where that void really came from. It wasn't that Jalen Petrie wasn't rushing the quarterback, it's that Jalen Petrie wasn't sitting there telling guys to shut the, blank up and get to work. And I think that's what they really missed out on. And the guys that were supposed to do that were probably the guys that were taking full advantage of Aranda's feelings and emotions and, back home, it's tough, like using that. And I think he alludes to that. And so that answered the question that I think everybody's been wondering of, like, what went wrong last year? Okay, we know part of it was chemistry with the coaching staff. That's why Ron Roberts is no longer here. That's why Ronnie Wheat was out the door. To a lesser extent, not chemistry really, but Juice Johnson, ultimately leaves as well to go to Tech. But then, player-wise, there's certain guys that didn't play to the level that you expected, certain guys that you thought would be more impactful that were a little bit, and they were out the door as well. And you're like, okay, well, there's some players gone, there's some coaches gone. That's part of the deal, but, like, does that answer every question for why it looked so out of sync last year? Not for me, it didn't. And then yesterday I heard him say that, and I was like, okay, all that makes sense now. So that's what was going on behind the scenes. You had some guys just, whether staff, but primarily players is what he's talking about there, that weren't leading the right way or were taking advantage of the spots they were in. And he didn't name names, but I think everybody can play the game of, like, wondering who that could be, and probably could settle on a couple of names that we all expect could have been maybe those guys. But that doesn't really matter because they're gone, and it's a new team. And so they got started yesterday, which was fun to see, and I think it was great to hear that from him. I think that was very encouraging. And we got to remember, he's still a younger head coach.
Yep.
I mean, he's going into year 4 now, which is hard to believe, but that's still a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of other veteran coaches. So he's still learning, and I think he learned a very valuable lesson this last offseason.
And I think he did from the first year to the second year, along with the fact it was no longer a COVID year, despite some of the COVID stuff that was still in place. I thought that was as refreshing as it can be. And it did bring to light perhaps why at times they just weren't all in, or something, not all in. They just didn't have that mesh and chemistry. Well, no, we'll come back.